All right, welcome to Sexpressive. This podcast is all about sex. All right, on this episode, we will be talking about
sex. We're going to be talking about sex. I don't know why we're even. Jade's trying to be
title of this
Jade's trying to be like a radio announcer right now, guys. I'm Greg. This is Jade. Say hi, Jade.
Hi, Jade.
Hi, Jade. And we're two really queer people that want to talk about dirty things with you. That's why the name of this first episode...
It doesn't always have to be dirty,
Thank you for interrupting me. That's why the name of this first episode is Dirty First. Dirty First. We're going to be talking a lot about our first times with things. Now, that's not to say... I don't want you to get the wrong idea. When I say dirty first, I don't mean that sex is dirty. I mean, it's dirty in a good way. You know, the way that, like, rolling around in a mud pit is... No, you don't like that?
Yeah, no, rolling around in a mud pit is great.
Like a pig. A little piggy.
Pigs are actually really cute.
That's a whole other thing. We'll have to. That's like a whole other episode. Cum pigs. We'll get to that later. Don't worry, folks.
Cum pigs?
Cum pigs.
I've only ever heard of
cum
a
pigs?
sweat pig, and that was pretty recent.
Cum pig, sweat pig, piss pig, all of the above pig.
Woo!
It's like one fish, two fish, but sexier, I guess. Okay, so
basically this
tell
first
us about yourself,
episode,
Jade.
Okay,
Who
so
are
I'll
you?
go into a better introduction of myself. So, my name is Jade. I am
stunning.
28 years old.
So
Thank
beautiful.
you.
It's not fair how pretty she is.
I do identify as trans. I did come out, I would say, close to 3 years ago now.
Yay,
it was a
go
very
Jade.
emotional and kind of pivotal moment in my life, as I'm sure most trans people can relate to. You know, I've had to work through a lot of things. So I have basically, I guess, since I've come out, I've become a lot more open about who I am, and you know, including sexuality. And I really, you know, Greg and I, honestly, before we started this podcast, we would often have discussions about sex. Greg is very...
I talk too much.
No, you don't. You are a great
and
listener,
I like
though.
talking about sex.
You do. We both do. And I didn't realize, you know, how much I really could enjoy sex and talking about it until I guess I met you. Really, I feel very... I guess I felt safe confiding things in.
I'm glad
with
that
you.
you feel safe.
Yeah.
To be sexual with me.
Oh no! With your creepy voice.
Lulu said, "Don't laugh into the microphone."
I know.
So I try not to do that, everyone. I'm sorry. She's laughing in the corner right now, everyone. The thing about this is that this podcast is being produced by our good friends Lauren and Mark, who have their own podcast called Lulu and Pop, which you can find on spacesproductions.com, as well as all the other really awesome ones like
iTunes.
Three Black Femmes and... Oh, no.
I'm sorry. I was still plugging
You're the worst.
Lulu and
No.
Pop. You're the worst.
Yeah, so Three Black Femmes and Broke But Cultured. If I don't mention that one, Selena will beat me up. So Broke But Cultured, listen to that because it has my black lesbian wife in it, and she's beautiful, and I love her, and I can't wait to marry her.
We listened to that podcast last night,
we
actually.
did.
Yeah.
Hi, Selena. Hi,
Selena.
Yeah, the thing is like essentially we're in this room right now, and we have Mark, who I will refer to as Daddy Podcast from now on. He's the podcast daddy. He's in charge of all the like sexy tech stuff that, you know. And then Lauren adds to the atmosphere by sitting in the corner and cackling, but she tries to make it so no one can hear her cackling in the corner. And I am going to make it my point throughout the entirety of this podcast to make sure that I make her laugh so goddamn loud that you hear her. So listen for Lauren.
I like the laughter. I think it's comforting. It's nice to
have
that's
the
environment.
That's the point of it. That's what we're here for. We want sex to feel easy, free, and fun. Like, laugh while you're having sex, folks. It's fun. Sex should be fun. All right. So, one of the things before we really get into it, complete introductions. One of the things I want you to introduce yourself as, and something that because gender is going to be an important part of the discussions throughout, is what are your pronouns, Jade? How do you like to be referred to?
Okay, so my preferred pronouns are she, her, they. That's like basically what I like to go as. I'm pretty easygoing. I don't really mind if people refer to me as like, if I'm with other people, guys is fine. I'm really not like that sensitive. But I guess if it's someone I don't really know, then like sometimes dude can be a little triggering.
That's only if it's a nar dog, right, Jade? Shred nar.
We are nar dogs.
I'm a nar. I found out from Jade that I'm a nar dog. That means gnarly dog. Yeah. For those of you not in the know, and it just means that I'm hella rad. So, in case you were wondering, now you know. I'm fucking cool.
So fucking cool.
Yeah. So Jade is this tall, stunning, fucking statuesque, beautiful, blonde bombshell that, like, every time I go fucking anywhere with her, it's just like everyone's looking at her, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. But, I'm here too. And on that note, my name is Greg, and what do you want to know about me? I use he, him pronouns, although that might be evolving. I'm taking a new perspective, a new look at gender because it's made up and I can make it whatever the fuck I want it to be.
Absolutely. Gender's
not real, everyone. Gender is not real. So, he, him pronouns. I am 30 years old, not that anyone cares. And I'm really, really gay. Although lately I've been using the word queer more often because I feel like gay specifically denotes a type of like very specific attraction, which is like I feel like I'm evolving out of that.
I think
in a
you
way.
are too. I would say.
I mean, none of these labels they're all bullshit.
They are, but I mean, you need to have words for
so people can understand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I just want
words
people
describe
to understand
who we are. So I don't really think there's anything inherently wrong with labels. I mean,
do you want me to get you like a labeling gun for Christmas?
Oh, I would have so much fun with a labeling gun.
You're gonna go around being like, this person's gay, and
I would never.
I would. No, I wouldn't.
I stopped trying to assume nowadays. Like, are they gay? Are they gay?
Yes. Remember, when you assume, you make an ass out of you.
Exactly.
And me. So just stop assuming people's genders and sexualities because it doesn't fucking matter.
And it often changes. Most people aren't really aware, I mean, things change throughout their life, and
or if someone from minute to minute.
Yeah, honestly, I can totally attest to that. But I mean, people can their identities change, and preferences change. It's a totally fluid thing, and I think that a lot of queer people understand that. I think that maybe some non-queer and individuals don't really see that. They think of it more as like a concrete, or sexuality is concrete, where it's really not.
Okay, so that was all well and good, and we're getting off topic. So let's talk a little bit about
this show is always going to be off topic.
I know. This show should just be called Off Topic. So no, let's segue into first. Let's talk. I would really like to hear more about some of your first experiences with coming out as trans, and not necessarily. I'm not asking to hear all your like coming out stories.
No, and I know you've been so good with that. Yeah,
but no, I mean like things. Okay, so things that I wasn't aware of until I started dating my super sexy trans boyfriend Samuel, was that one of the things that like people don't ever talk about with the trans experience, from what I've heard from other people, is that they don't talk about how like that experience changes the way that you like literally think and feel, like both physically and emotionally. And everyone's just all like hella concerned with genitals all the time. I don't know why. I mean, genitals are nice.
They are nice.
I like putting them in my mouth. and on my body.
There's a lot of other parts of that person, though, that you can
Yeah,
appreciate.
I know. So I want to hear.
like,
Tell me about those parts, Jade. Tell me about your.
absolutely will.
Tell me about all of
Because
your
they have,
parts.
honestly, that is one of the things that has changed for me. Certain erogenous zones have changed dramatically.
Oh yeah.
You know, So I guess to back up a little bit.
Back it up.
Back it up.
Going all the way.
So yeah, honestly, I would say 10 years ago, what I identified as and my sexual preferences have, really changed from what I feel today. I think a lot of it was, I felt a lot of pressure by society, the like cis heteronormative society that a lot of everybody really feels, worldwide. And it took me a lot of time to get past that and really be comfortable with who I am. There was a lot of doubt, and at this point, there's I don't doubt my identity at all, but there's still times where I basically dysphoria it's not as bad as it used to be, but I still do experience a fair bit. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes it's just for a few seconds. So, I mean, I think that everybody's like, I guess everybody really develops differently, and I kind of feel like trans people are.
I'm curious. Would you say that your approach to sex and like I mean, obviously sexuality, because that's like a whole other thing. Like when your whole gender identity is flopping on its head, obviously your perception of sexuality is going to change. But I'm curious about how accepting that self and beginning that transition shaped the way that you approach the actual act of sex.
Okay, well,
tell me about fucking.
Oh, I will.
Good.
Yeah, so
I want
this
to hear all about it.
Basically, I guess it took me a little bit to be like more comfortable with my body, enough to start having sex, and even like just flirting in general. Like I didn't really know. It was, I first identified as, I guess, mainly lesbian. Like I've had many like early sexual experiences have been with women, and I lately, as I've transitioned, I can feel that my sexuality has changed, and now I find myself a lot more attracted to men and masculinity, and but I would say it's still pretty even. If anything, I'm still leaning more towards the like feminine side. I'm really attracted to femininity and strong femininity, whether they're cis or trans or genderqueer. I would say I identify as pansexual now, where I guess
you just want to fuck everything.
Yeah, everything.
I mean,
I really try not to limit myself
who
now.
doesn't?
I mean, if you put limits on yourself, then I feel like you honestly are going to be missing out. And that's like one of those things when you're on your deathbed and you're like,
why didn't I fuck more people?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm so scared of a penis, but it's like, really, like, am I? Like,
I'm not. So if anyone...
I was at first.
If there are people that are interested in sharing their penises with me, that's not an invitation to all of you.
Dick pics.
Right? Don't start sending dick pics to our email. I'll give you my DM. You can slide into my DMs. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about some of our. I want to hear about. I guess we're talking about some of our first.
Well, I'm kind of curious to hear about like. What? So basically, my sexuality did change dramatically, and I was always kind of curious, like, where did yours start? When did you first realize that you were...
When I first realized how gay I am.
Yeah.
How incredibly
were you?
Super gay. Oh, okay. So, yeah. I think my earliest memory, like solid memory that I like can hearken back to when we're talking about this kind of stuff, about like my understanding of sexuality, or of my sexuality, was probably all the way back to like second grade. And there were two people in my class that I had a crush on. One was this girl named Katie. And the other one was this boy named Jimmy. The weird thing is that I like specifically remember thinking, like being aware that I shouldn't tell anyone about my crush on Jimmy, which is so weird because, I mean, it's not so weird. I mean, we're going to talk about the oppressiveness of like this is heteropatriarchy people. But that will be brought up.
As a second grader.
But like as a second grader, it's not like,
in.
Yeah, I know. But like the thing is, so it's not like I had like I didn't have like crazy homophobic parents. So I'm super lucky there. I still don't have crazy homophobic parents. So it's not like, it's weird to look back at that and realize that like that wasn't really being pushed on me by my parents, but just like by society. But yeah, so I guess my first notion of attraction to quote unquote men started, I can think all the way back to second grade. And then also being secretive about it. And then the funny thing is like, it just progressed as I got older, obviously, because there's no undoing the gay. And I think the best part was like when, like right before I came out, I think I started to come out around my freshman year of high school. So 8th grade was when like shit was really starting to like bubble over inside of me. It was getting real gay. There were a lot of hormones, and I was really horny. And I had this one social studies teacher who we'll just call Mr. B.
God, I had a sexy social studies teacher named Mr. B.
I was on the team that had the young teachers. We had all the teachers that were fresh out of school, so they were all young and hot. And Mr. B he had these like wacky long sideburns, and I just wanted him to like throw me over his desk and plow me. And keep in mind that this is like I've had like zero sexual experience with like, and this is all like being made up in my head from like whatever. And yet I'm having like, I'm sitting in class having these like intense sexual fantasies about my teacher, and then like I go home and I'm like, I'm not gay. Like that's how like deeply into like, but that's like where the line was, like even up to the point where I finally was like, yeah, I want to suck some dick. Like all the way up into that point I was like, no, I'm not gay. I'm like literally imagining getting fucked by my teacher.
I'm not gay.
And I'm like, no, I'm not gay. I just want to get fucked by my teacher.
I have a similar experience. I guess before I could really put my, I don't know. I guess, before you really come out to yourself as trans, I really didn't even understand trans people. At a young age, they were kind of...
oh yeah, I didn't learn about
deviant people. Yeah, it was
until like well into high school when I started going to a gay youth group thing called.
Same here. I was in high school. Before that, it was transvestites or like she-males and thing. So this is kind of what I learned early on, like the earliest
So would you were there like when speaking of first, like when would you say you started to like have like rumblings of whether it's sexuality or gender, which came first? Like,
I would
with you,
say
with like what's going on.
I don't remember. I would say 4th grade is my earliest memories of having any like
what happened in 4th grade,
sexual experiences. But that was at least my first crush. In 4th grade, and it was with this girl. I'm just gonna call her Kat. So anyway, this girl Kat lived in my town. I lived in a really small town, and in South Jersey, and she was my first childhood crush. She was the pretty smart girl that just was actually nice to me and talked to me.
I know, that's so weird. That's like literally the reason I had a crush on Katie in 2nd grade. I don't think it really had a lot to do with some attraction so much as like, this person's being nice to me. That's so strange.
Yeah, like she was, just I don't know, just we were able to hang out and I guess I felt comfortable around her, but so in 4th grade, unfortunately, she had to move, and I was pretty sad about it. I wanted to do something sweet for her, so I guess I was like, I ended up going to the florist early that morning with my stepmom, and we picked up a bouquet of flowers, and I was so freaking nervous to give this bouquet of flowers to her.
Oh my God, did you give her the flowers?
Yeah, I did.
I totally did some really romantic bullshit like that in elementary school. I think also in like 4th grade there was this girl named Patricia, which again, I think it was more like, this girl is so nice to me. Because like, especially in elementary school. So when I was in 2nd grade, I was bougie and I was in Montessori school. But then by elementary school, I was in fucking public school, which is a goddamn nightmare, especially if you're gay. So at that point, I would take like any like friendly behavior that anyone would offer me. I was like, please, someone be nice to me.
No, that's I honestly, when I first came out, I was like, oh my God, you're nice to me. Like, that's awesome. I mean, there was a lot of like, I guess I don't want to call it self-hate or anything like that. It was just a lot of
internalized homophobia.
Yes, internalized transphobia.
Big fancy words. Yeah, internalized transphobia.
Yeah, I feel like I'm finally able to break out of that now. Like, there's still times where, you know, someone will shout something kind of derogatory or, you know, a slur at me, and I internalize it. You know, if someone misgenders me, I do have a hard time.
Stop fucking doing that, everyone. What's your goddamn problem?
You know, I guess sometimes it's out of like ignorance or but sometimes it is disrespectful.
I
and
don't know.
The times that I can sense the lack of respect is when it really hurts. And sometimes I even say something back.
You should.
You know, I try to, like, I don't know, some people are like, don't let it bother you, don't let it bother you.
I mean, like,
easier
that's
said than done.
That's a shitty thing to say to someone who's like going through a shitty experience if you're not also experiencing it.
Exactly, and most of the times I've heard this from cis people, and I'm like, dude,
hey cis people, shut the fuck up and listen.
I don't hate cis people at all.
We don't. I mean, I'm one of them. It happens, and it's unavoidable. But yeah, stop misgendering people, I guess, is what we're getting at right now. It's not that hard. So a little side note before we really get into the nitty-gritty of what we want to talk about with misgendering people is if you are concerned where you're meeting someone and you don't know what gender they are, it doesn't fucking matter because you don't need to. Most people these days have these things called names. And when you learn them, you can call them by them and they respond.
Yes.
It's this wild notion. I think it's a pretty modern idea, so you might not be familiar with it. Names. You just go up to the person, you can say, hi, if you have a name, you can share it with them, and then you can ask them what their name is, and then you just use that name. Or if you forget, you can say that you forgot, or you can say they, them, if you really, really, really need to use a pronoun, if you're fucking dying to use a pronoun.
Yeah, and there's nothing, I don't think there's anything, a lot of people...
Now, keep in mind, I understand that I am not infallible, and I know that I'm gonna fuck up sometimes. So if you listen to our hot mess of a 0-0 episode where we didn't know what the fuck we were talking about, Jade briefly mentioned that we intend to eventually, hopefully, bring in some kind of buzzer as a means of us being able to. I'm personally working on removing unnecessary gender from my language, unnecessary gendering of things and people from my language. And I've been doing that a lot in my head. I know I'm not fully there yet. I hope you all will join me in doing this. But one of the things that we are thinking about doing on this podcast is eventually having Daddy Podcast with the sound effects come in with a buzzer anytime one of us unnecessarily genders something or someone. So, get ready for that bullshit. So, I'm okay. This has all been fun, and I love talking about gender, and we're going to talk a lot about gender because we're going to talk a lot because we have a whole podcast now.
There's a lot of...
I want to talk about sex.
So when was your first kiss?
Oh, my God. Okay, so... Are we first, or just, are we with anyone, any gender?
Yeah, person? Yeah, any gender, yes. First kiss.
That goes way back.
That wasn't your family.
Well, obviously, I'm not making anyone out with anyone. Or a dare.
Or a dare. It has to be the first,
So, but you know that everyone uses
organic.
Truth. Okay, but, to be fair, let's go back. Everyone knows that truth and dare Truth or Dare was invented as a means of getting people to make out with you, like
or spin the bottle.
Spin the bottle.
Yeah.
Oh my god, a lot of we're gonna get into that because a lot of my first like gay sexual experiences started with spin the bottle. So my first kiss, blah, 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 probably goes back to somewhere in high school. It's hard to pinpoint exactly like whom it was. Like because I hit that point when those like hormones started raging, and I was like, yeah, I'll make out with anyone, and it was like, I guess it might have been, my friend Courtney. At the time. Sorry, everyone. I was pausing because I was trying not to burp into the microphone. And that's gross. Unless you're into a burping fetish, and I'm not trying to yuck your yum here. So, like, if you want me to burp into the microphone, you can write me an email.
There's no judgment on any kinks or fetishes.
Well,
I mean, healthy
unless
ones. I mean, we might analyze them.
Consensual kinks and fetishes.
Yeah, healthy.
Like, healthy. Well, healthy subjective. Anyway, so we're talking about first, I just started making out with, it might have been Courtney, and then like I also like remember like when I started going to that youth group where I started learned about trans people and stuff. So this youth group was called it might still be around, so if you are queer and young, I think you have to be 18 or younger, and you are somewhere in the greater Philadelphia area and you know where Wayne, Pennsylvania is, there's a youth group out there called the Mainline Youth Alliance, and they're located or were located in I don't know the name of it, but it was a Baptist church out on the Mainline. It was Baptists that liked, they were cool with the gays, so that was interesting. And we would go, it would be, a bunch of teenagers from all over the area. Most of them were from the Mainline. My ass was not from the Mainline. My ass was dragging it all the way from Delco. I got my friend to drive me out there. She was super sweet to do that like every week. And that would be like our Friday. We would look forward to going, we're going to go hang out with the gays.
Okay.
But so like by the time like, so this thing, the way that it worked, it was that it would like, there'd be like the meeting, and then after the meeting it would be like social time. And like everyone would go across the street to this cafe called the Griffin, which I'm looking back, I feel so bad for all those poor teenagers that were working at the Griffin that were just like inundated with like a bunch of emotional
cackling
fucking
and
like loud
I can only imagine.
Just like monstrous, and we're all like learning about ourselves, so there's a lot of like making out in corners and just gross shit, which I did. I was participating in a lot of that. I did a lot of making out in corners, making out on the street in front of the Griffin, just a lot of making out with like anyone who would put their mouth on my mouth, because I was just like, oh my God, I'm so horny, just all the time. I mean, did you ever have that point in like the midst of puberty where like I had a point where I was like, I could not stop masturbating, and I thought that I was addicted to sex. I had not even had sex yet.
Gonna go blind.
I was addicted to masturbating, and I was like, my dick's gonna fall off. Like,
yeah.
Did you ever have a point where you were like,
I don't think I ever got like out of control with it, but I guess there was definitely a point where I questioned. I'm like, am I doing it too much? And then somebody told me, I don't know why I believe this, but they were like, every time you masturbate, a kitten will die. And I'm like, that fucked me up for a while. And I'm like, I know it wasn't true, but
ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry.
Kind of like
buzzer, folks, people of the world. That is absolutely true. Every time you masturbate, a kitten does die. So help control the stray cat population in South Philadelphia and masturbate more. Thank you.
Well, anyway, so besides that, I also heard, I guess from an early age, it was kind of like shameful to masturbate, and it really isn't. It's something everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, but I guess people with a sex drive tend to enjoy it. And
so speaking of masturbation, because I love masturbation, I love talking about masturbation. Do you remember the first time that you masturbated?
So I don't remember the age or anything. I guess so I had tried it a few times. I was still really like,
Like, so did you like figure it out from like watching videos, or did you just have to like touch yourself?
I think it was more organic and natural.
Pictures?
Yeah, just basically like I'm feeling urges and like and
that just like I need to rub my junk on this couch right now.
Yeah, and
I know y'all fuckers did that.
I
know all of you. So here's the thing, and that's another thing that Jade and I want to talk about later is like the very real like reality of the fact that there is a concept of sexuality present in children. And I know that makes some people feel ooky spooky because they're like, ooh, we have to talk about sex and children. But I'm like, if you do that, they're less likely to do fucking stupid shit like get pregnant at 13. So, yeah, one of the reasons we were going to talk about that was like we were talking about what we wanted to, you know, talk about in this episode with Dirty First. We were talking about those early urgings, like I would say, like what would you say, Jade? Like really like tween. Yeah, is that the word that we call it? Tween word. Era. Yeah, where I just like I had no like actual sexual connection to it yet because I didn't have any understanding of like sex or sexuality, but I did understand that I really wanted to rub my junk against the couch, and I did that. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't come on the couch, I promise.
I think the first orgasm that I remember, I was probably
I remember
maybe
the first. I remember
12. Like, and I remember it kind of blew my mind because I'm like, I just, you know, I guess everybody experiences that, their first orgasm. Like, it's really unexplained. You know, you don't know what to expect, and it's.
Did you also think that you were gonna pee?
Yeah.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah,
I hear that especially like. I mean,
something in my head was just telling me like, just keep going.
The first time that I almost came, I stopped because I was worried that I was going to pee. It was in my parents have a like a fancy jacuzzi tub. It's not like a hot tub. It's a tub with like jacuzzi bubbles.
Yeah,
in
well,
it.
my first time was in the shower.
Yeah.
So
like, and I discovered that when I put my dick near the bubbles, that it felt real good.
Damn,
and
you learned early.
Yeah, I was like fucking a jacuzzi. But like the first time I stopped because I was like convinced that I was gonna pee, and then eventually I did it, and it was weird. Did you like the first couple of times? Did it like ever hurt? Because like for me, like if I'm just gonna let you know, folks, that this show is gonna be pretty frank. The idea is that the talking about sex is not gross or weird, and that we can just talk about these things. So I'm just going to talk about these things. So the first orgasm was quote unquote dry, you know, a dry orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come, if you will. And I think like, I don't know, I never like looked up the science behind it, but it was like almost like the gears weren't ready. And so like, I was like, the first time I had that orgasm was like right in like above, like in like I guess like the pubic area. It was just like it's like ow, like I felt it inside of like my organs. I think they were like trying their damnedest to do a thing, and like nothing was happening.
I mean I honestly don't remember like having any like painful masturbation moments until I used soap.
By the way,
have you ever masturbated with
painful masturbation? Is not normal. So if you're experiencing painful masturbation, you should definitely speak to a medical professional. But also, like, you know, look into it because like I want you to be able to masturbate, because masturbating is fun and it is the safest sex you can have. Sex with yourself is the safest sex you can have, everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
Jade is like looking off into the distance, thinking about masturbating right now. She's like,
that's another. I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom for a second.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take an intermission.
I know the sexy pirate daddies in there.
Yes. Oh, so Lulu and Pop have a pirate themed bathroom, and there's sexy pirates. That
like a sexy Long John Silver on
while
the wall.
You're doing your business. Long John Silver. He'll seduce you with hush puppies and fish sticks.
That's all I. Oh my god, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put out for hush puppies.
So
just letting you know, Sam. My boyfriend is in the room, folks. So,
hi, Sam.
I'm telling him to give me hush puppies. Yeah, so masturbating is great. I also, okay, so you just like figured it out, right? Like, okay, so like,
Yeah, just kind of like
this is
I
the
don't
thing.
remember
This is
anybody
definitely
really
a thing that I
telling
would
me.
love to hear more about when we do get to the point where we're not dumb and we have our shit together and you can email us. But I want to hear more about like, how did people figure, because like masturbating is like mostly instinctual, but you have to figure shit out. And the reason I know this is because I'm going to share a deeply embarrassing and personal story with the world right now. Because it's fucking hilarious. So when I first started masturbating, I didn't actually have any concept of like the mechanics of sex. I mean, I did, and like realistically, I knew like how babies were made by the time I was 3 because my mom was pregnant. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
That's early. I
And
don't
well,
think I
yeah,
really...
both my parents are biologists, so they weren't going to fuck around with any of that like bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
did you get a birds and the bees talk, or was it
no?
more
They were like penis, vagina, sperm
I
egg.
wish I had that. I really didn't.
But like it was still
honestly.
very like, but it wasn't like, you know, they didn't like go into.
It
like,
wasn't really
they
spoken
didn't,
about
you know,
in
and,
my
like,
house.
But like that was also like mostly it, and like this is not like a call out post for my mom and dad, but like I think we all
Your
could
parents
use.
are great people.
I think a lot of us who are adults now would agree that we could have used a more comprehensive sexual education than what we got from both our parents and our schools. And that's something that we'll talk more about later. And that's like kind of the point of this show is I want to open up dialogue about sex and sex education. Anyway, deeply embarrassing thing. So like, again, masturbation is mostly instinctual. You know, you like rub the parts until the thing feels good, right? But like, you know, I wasn't really thinking about the mechanics of sex. And so, like, for the first few times that I was masturbating, rather than doing, like, the regular thing that you do with a penis when you're masturbating, which is, like, the up and down motion, was I just went off of, like, well, when the bubbles from the tub blow on my dick, that feels good, so just mimic that. And I was, like, literally, like, flicking my dick, like, with my finger, like, boing, boing, boing. Yeah, and I would, like, do that, and, like, it took a long time to come doing that, by the way. I don't recommend it as a method of masturbation. Unless you like taking a long time. Edging is always fun.
I really enjoy edging, honestly. It's
But so yeah, now everyone knows that when I first started masturbating, I didn't actually know how to, and I did it wrong. And I forget how I figured it out. I think it was probably from watching softcore porn. Skinamax.
I'm sure I've done it wrong.
I was like,
too.
oh, he's fucking her belly button. And then you're like, it goes like that, like in and out, not like boing, boing, boing. Oh.
Flick, 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 flick.
You fuck her belly button. I love softcore porn.
My God, my
It's
belly
so
button is so
stupid.
sensitive. That would...
Oh my God, what if someone fucked your
Nobody's
belly
grinding on my belly button. I'll tell you that.
button? Well, don't make a softcore porn then, Jade.
That's how it happens.
So, yeah. So
penis and vagina.
masturbating is great. You know
Penis
what?
on
You know
belly
what else
button.
is also really fun? Sex with other people. So let's hear about some of those first
okay.
experiences.
So,
Oh, and I also want to talk about virginity and how it's not real. We're gonna get into that. So
yeah,
tell us about how you didn't lose your virginity because it's not real. Or okay, let me clarify. What I'm trying to say here is that virginity, the concept of virginity, is mostly applied to women, and it's mostly used by the patriarchy as a means of subjugating women. Everybody knows that already, and if you don't, well, now you do. So, in reality, virginity was used as a means of determining a woman's worth, which is why I don't adhere to it. So I really like the concept that some people have that virginity is not necessarily the first time that you like have sex with penetration, but the first time that you achieve orgasm brought on by stimulus from someone else.
I agree. I think that it's pretty misunderstood, like
Yeah.
losing your virginity.
Yeah.
At least that's how I understood it as like losing your virginity is penis and vagina, and that's
and there are way more ways to have sex. than penis and vagina.
absolutely, and that was like a lot of pressure put on me too. It was like, and I know a ton of people go through this, like losing your virginity is like this.
Well, and then like people have different concepts of what that's the thing is like it's personal because it's made up anyway. So to be like some people don't consider oral sex. They're like, I can suck all the dicks in the world and I'm still a virgin. And I'm like,
Bullshit.
are you though?
Bullshit.
But I mean, again, I feel like it's a personal choice to define whether or not you're a virgin. So when would you say that you lost your quote unquote?
Okay, so
virginity?
the first orgasm that I achieved with someone else was honestly late high school, senior year. I was definitely like, I think one of the last people. At least that's what it felt like. I'm sure it wasn't that bad at all, but I just felt like the last one in the fucking school to lose their virginity, and I felt a ton of pressure. And I honestly felt like without that pressure, it might have been maybe longer. I mean, that wasn't my first time, I guess, like making out heavily and like grinding on someone, and but at that time I didn't actually like orgasm. But the first time
like
was
a frottage. Frottage. I don't know how you pronounce that word. Some people say frottage. Fromage.
Is that dry humping?
Yeah, dry humping.
Okay, yeah.
So
I mean, I
did a lot of dry humping in my day.
Yeah, same here, and I it was like something I was comfortable with. It felt good, and it was like, you don't have to really break.
And then you
out
have a mess in your pants, and that's always fun.
Well, yeah, honestly, I didn't orgasm during any of those moments, but honestly, I remember from an early age that I wouldn't say I was like dysphoric about my genitals at the big, like, when I guess I first started experiencing my sexual desires, but it's like it wasn't really until later on that I really experienced dysphoria. But I do remember there was definitely times when I was younger and I was like, this feels weird between my leg. It just feels like it should.
Who invited you to this party?
Work a different way. Yeah, exactly. It just felt, I don't know, foreign sometimes.
Yeah.
But I guess
that's like a really interesting thing to like. That's a hurdle to get over.
Yeah,
like,
it still is.
To be like I want to be sexual with myself, but I'm not even comfortable with like the sexual parts that I've been given. That's got to be fucking weird.
Yeah, that's still something I struggle with. I really don't like open up about but I'm pre-op, and I think eventually I will have bottom surgery to just kind of align my my body with what I feel it should be.
Yeah, you're gonna get that hot pocket, is what you're saying.
Hell yes. Cheesy hot pocket. Yes. But
she gonna wrap it in that foil pocket, that little like foil sleeve. Bing, bing. Okay, so let me tell you a little thing about me. I've eaten a disgusting amount of Hot Pockets because specifically my older brother and I.
Real
for
Hot
a period
Pockets?
Of yes, real. Well, I've also eaten some. If we're talking about
like a pepperoni,
like a vagina, yeah, I've done some of that too. But no, blah 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 blah. So Hot Pockets. My older brother and I spent like a whole summer as latchkey kids because both my parents worked so much, and that meant that like we would come home from school and like let ourselves in from we spent a whole summer like eating Hot Pockets and ramen. I don't know how we didn't die from the sodium intake, and then we watched reruns of MASH. So if that gives you insight into why I'm so strange, it was all the Hot Pockets. And now I would much rather eat an actual vaginal Hot Pocket than an actual Hot Pocket, like a hot.
I agree.
Which Hot Pocket do you like the most, though?
I would say
I hate when we would be
pepperoni. Maybe
I hate when we would only have that ham and cheddar.
Yeah,
bullshit.
Fuck the damn
no one
cheddar.
Likes that ham and cheddar bullshit.
Oh my god, my family would buy the big box.
Do we have to worry about copyright infringement, Lulu and Pop, by saying Hot Pocket?
I'm pretty sure.
Hot
Speak about Hot Pockets.
Sorry, don't laugh.
We're totally promoting Hot Pockets, by the way. Make sure you go to your local grocery store and grab one.
They're a great, quick post-coitus snack. Because you need to load up on that protein. Sometimes I'm always hungry.
I always get a craving for carbs after sex.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
I mean, it should have been.
Well,
unless you're a pillow princess, which is okay too. I'm not trying to. I mean, if it works for you. Okay, so
what's your first experience using a sex toy?
Oh God. Ooh. Okay, so if we want to talk about, so like, I had like this primitive sex toy like situation in my life where I was like curious about like sticking things in my butt because like that's what we do apparently. So I wanted to know more about that. So like I used to like just try and get my hands on like things that I felt like were safe to stick in my butt. So like my first sex toy experiences were not really with like official sex toys. It was just like me jamming random paraphernalia in my anus. I remember one time specifically, I was like, you know what? And this is going to be hilarious. You know what would make sense? Because it's already like the right shape. Is I'll just try it with a tampon and see how that feels, which would feel a lot better with lube, but I didn't have any, so.
Yeah, I guess you don't really know that you need.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was.
Let me helps.
The advice that the moral of this story is don't stick a tampon in your ass without lube, because it's not fun. Yeah, that's another interesting thing about me that I'm sure you didn't want to know. So yeah, I guess I would count that as like one of my first sex toy experiences. I also remember one time, like I had like grabbed, I guess, like a couple tampons, and I remember one time my friend was over, and I was like, why do you have a tampon in your room? And I was like, my friend left it here.
Just in case.
Yeah,
just in case, you know,
hey,
friends
I'm
come
all
over.
about, yeah, most of my friends are women, so, or just, you know, yeah, I should have tampons anyway.
On deck, yeah.
I know.
Just in case.
When I finally get around to getting that fanny pack, I will fill it with tampons. But I will not put them in my butt. Otherwise, let's see, sex toy experiences.
Like a real sex toy, like your first, like.
I think the real first sex toy I bought was like these anal beads from Condom Kingdom, which is like not really a good place for shopping for sex toys.
No, but it's like
I mean it's like dick paraphernalia is what it is.
Yeah, it's like there's not a.
If you need it's
a well-known.
If you need a
sex
dozen
store.
plastic penises for any reason, then yes, go to Condom Kingdom. But and they were all right. Anal beads aren't really my thing, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I'm not. Yeah,
I need more toys. If anyone has any toy recommendations,
yeah, please email us and
let me
us
know
your favorite toy.
What is it? It's Jade and Greg at sexpressivepodcast.com. Tell us about your favorite sex toy, and why you like it, and where you put it.
Yeah, because honestly, I guess, you know, I use sex toys that are meant for like vagina, and I don't have a vagina right now, so I make do.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's changed, but I remember when I first started. That's the thing. Like when I was first looking for sex toys at Condom Kingdom as like a dumb teenager or whatever, like, was that I was noticing that, and it may just be that space, but a lot of sex toy spaces are still very geared towards heterosexuality. So a lot of the sex toys I was looking at were specifically for like, this is for a vagina. And that's lovely. But I don't have one of those. And I wanted a butt toy. And they didn't really have a lot of butt toys, which is why I think I walked out of there with anal beads, because it was like the only like butt thing.
Yeah,
I feel like nowadays, like now that the straights have figured out that butt sex is fun, there's like butt toys everywhere.
Yeah,
it's still always a picture of a woman with like a gaping asshole and vagina at the same time somehow. Like you just see every inside of every orifice on that box. I don't know how they do that. Maybe they have like placers to hold it, like, you know, like when it just springs over.
Well, I guess if you're using the toys, then it
tends
to loosen things up.
Have you ever seen those butt plugs that are clear that you can like? Do they make ones that have like magnifying glasses and you could like see inside the butt? That would be gross. That would
not be.
I'm not into prolapse play. Sorry. So if you are, don't hit me up.
I mean, honestly, right now,
I want to know. I want to hear about like the first time you like really like got sexual with someone or fucked, if we're gonna say fucked.
All right, so that would
Fuck.
put me right about 19 years old, and it was with this
How did you feel?
girl that I went to school with. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to put anybody's names out there now. I really honestly don't talk to some of these people anymore. So
I don't talk
like,
to anyone from my school.
I just don't
I
don't need anybody
myself.
to come like hunt me down. Somebody's like, I don't know, mad boyfriend now or something, or husband at this point. Anyway.
Oh yeah, it's fun. Like the one guy that I did a lot of my firsts with went to a different school than me, and he was like,
I wish
he was like
everything was. I went to such a small school.
It was an all boys school too, a Catholic all boys school, and he was a closeted bisexual, at least at that time. I don't know what's going on in his life now, other than I'm pretty sure he's still living where we're from, and he's married to a female identified person, and he was a closeted bisexual, and it all started with Spin the Bottle. It always starts with Spin the Bottle.
I was so damn nervous to play that game. Someone mentioned Spin the Bottle, and I'm like,
I was like,
I'll go ride my bike.
So
tonight.
like me and my horny ass friend who were both trying to fuck this guy. We're like trying, like we're like, yeah, like we'll just see. We both. It's literally three of us, and we're like, let's play Spin the Bottle. It's three of us. Like we know how this is gonna go, guys. And it always ended in a three-way. Like if you ever tried to make out with two other people, it gets messy. I've done that a lot. Don't do it. You just get spit all over your face.
I'm trying.
Like
really
it's one
trying to
thing
think.
if you go like if it's like, oh, I'm kissing you, and then you come over and I'm kissing. But when you're all like together and like your mouth can't actually meet, so you're just sort of like mashing your tongue. It's gross.
Yeah,
You're
no,
just,
I
like,
think
licking
kissing
each
is
other.
pretty optimized for like two sets of lips.
Or which lips?
Which lips?
Which lips?
But yeah, no, I don't
So
think I've
yeah,
ever
the
had a
first time.
three-way
But like,
kiss.
what was it like? Was it good? Your first time?
Yeah, it was
Was it
good. It was. I
life-changing?
definitely felt, like
What time was it?
some pressure. It was the middle of the night, after
In the
plenty of
Mainline.
alcohol, and I was nice and loose. I guess it was
Playing it
more
fast
of
and
like
loose? Did you use protection?
I didn't.
That's fine. I appreciate your honesty.
No, but I'm
I'm trying to remember. TBH,
there was
I'm pretty
contraceptives in play.
I'm pretty
other than a
sure. I'm
condom,
pretty sure I
so,
used a condom the first time I had like sex, but I don't fully remember. Although I have like, if we're going by like, if we're talking about like penetration sex, and we're talking about it from the perspective of like a quote unquote gay man, there is like two types, right? Or there's three if you're counting your mouth. So there's like fucking or being fucked, and so like the first time that I like really like had penetration or penetrative sex. It's a hard word. I can't say it. Hard. I'll just say hard instead. Hard. So the first time I had sex where a penis was going inside of someone, I was topping. And it was really good. And it was with this dude that like, I feel like we both had a lot of feelings for each other because we were just teenagers with a lot of feelings, and it was in the summer. And that was great. And then when I like the first time that I like quote unquote bottomed, it was not as romantic. It was some dude. I don't even know how I found him because it was pre-Grindr, like before we had all that shit. So it was like you really had to do some scouring. It got a little scary if you're trying to have gay
maybe.
anonymous sex.
Was this like a MySpace era?
It might have been MySpace. So I got this dude. Don't ask me what his fucking name is because I don't even remember it. And he came over to my parents' house. I don't even know if my parents were home. I think they might have been in bed. And I think it was when my brother was away at college, so it was in his bed because I only had a twin bed and we had to use his full bed. And this guy comes over, and I did not tell him that it was my first time until we were already doing it. And he had me in like the most uncomfortable possible position for my first time, which was like on my stomach with my legs together, and like he just like came in. It was like one of those situations where like it was almost like a weird like dirty porn, because if I'm remembering correctly, he kept his baseball cap on the whole time, which is always like that's such trade porn, like straight dick kind of bullshit. So it was literally like he was like, we're doing it, and he mentioned something about me being particularly tight, and I was like, oh yeah, it's my first time. And his response was to just keep going. And then he was done. And then he left, and I don't know his name. So that's my very romantic first time bottoming.
I have a similar experience my first time bottoming. It was kind of like, I don't want to say it was like over. It was definitely a little painful, and it was.
Oh
like,
yeah, I did not have any fun the first time.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I don't know
fun,
why
bro.
I kept trying to do it too, because like the first few times I was bottoming, I was like, "This isn't fun. This hurts. Why do people do this?" And then I was like, "Somebody fuck me," like minutes later. So what about you?
Well, is it okay? So my first like
Get graphic.
time having sex was I was also topping,
Uh-huh.
and that's not something I tend to do a lot now at all, really. But that was just kind of the way things worked. You know, I identified as straight,
time
and
for
it was kind of like pressure to, you know, it was just kind of like basic missionary for. I didn't really expand on like sexual positions or anything like that until later in life, and I was just, you know, I wasn't an over. I wasn't really. I didn't have a lot of sex.
None
when
of
I
us
was
had
like,
any goddamn clue what we were doing.
Yeah, it was this. I exactly. I'm like, and a lot of it was
a
like
lot of awkward, fumbly.
so awkward. Yeah, I mean, once we got into it, though, it was very like, I guess, just felt you know, natural.
yeah.
It was like, you know, after a while, I guess the
God bless you, Daddy podcast. He sneezed in the corner, but he did it very quietly.
I didn't even hear that.
I know, it was very. He's an expert. Goddess bless you.
Where was I though?
Cackle, Lauren, cackle. Ew, that was gross. I won't ever make that sound again. I'm sorry, everyone. Mark, just edit that out.
So anyway, yeah, I guess.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you.
That's
I'm
fine.
just like a fucking man. Men are always interrupting women. I'm sorry.
That's
Go
fine.
ahead.
So yeah, I guess my first I don't know, a couple sexual partners I was topping, and it was like just kind of felt like the right thing I should do. It didn't like feel wrong at all. You know, I guess I didn't really put too much thought in. It was almost just felt like this is what's normal. This is what I need to do. And it did feel good. So it wasn't like, you know, just...
I'm glad that the sex felt good.
Yeah, I haven't really had any... So I'm trying to think, and I haven't really had any negative sexual experiences. Like, at least not memorable ones.
I'm really happy for you because I've had a number.
Yeah, I mean, most of... You know, I'm pretty careful who I... like, you know, who I have sex with, and I wouldn't say
good.
careful, but I'm like, I'm
not.
guess I'm picky.
Good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad to be picky. But yeah,
Sometimes.
well, I mean, that's led to me having, you know, pretty good sexual experiences. So, but I guess you've had quite a few bad ones.
First, a lot of.
I'm
the
gonna
first
take that
ones
as a
were
yes.
bad. A lot of the first ones were bad. Well, oh, you got a vibration. Uh-oh, you got another vibration.
I'm getting vibrated right now. Well,
anyway.
anyway,
I want to get vibrated. Actually, I don't
Speaking of
really.
that-
Speaking of like, I don't really. I just want to real quick before I know we have to wrap this up because I feel like we've just been talking for a million years. But I just want to know your opinion on vibrators in the butt because I am not a big fan. It just feels like.
Did you know that the first vibrator was invented by
God.
Dr. Joseph Mortimer Granville?
Okay, so guys, we had this whole other fucking stupid plan that like we way over planned this podcast, and then we were like gonna like
We did not
hit you with all these facts that you didn't probably care
We
about.
will eventually.
Well, we will. You're gonna learn some shit.
I'm a very factual
learning
person.
experience. But yeah, we're gonna. One of the things we wanted to talk about was how the first vibrator was actually invented as a means of well, it's actually to take labor away from men because they were trying to cure women of their hysteria, their womb craziness, which they found could be cured momentarily through stimulation of the genitals. This is at a time where no one had any idea that the female orgasm existed for some reason, and so all these men were going around. These doctors were literally diddling. They were finger blasting these women to cure them of their hysteria. But then all these doctors were getting carpal tunnel from finger blasting these women. So this one doctor invented essentially the first steam-powered vibrator because he got tired of doing it by hand. So vibrators exist because men are lazy. End of story. Okay, sorry. All right.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to? Is there anything else you want to throw out into the ether?
No, I pretty much exposed all
your dirty,
deep, dark,
your dirty
sexual secrets.
You didn't tell me about your first time with a sex toy. Real quick, 30 seconds, go.
I'm trying to. I don't remember like the toy. It was probably like a cock ring or something like that. And nothing like too crazy.
I don't know if that. I mean, I guess that counts as a toy.
Yeah,
it prolongs.
Kind of.
I've never used a cock ring. They scare me.
They
look like they hurt.
It didn't hurt at all. It was just, I don't know. It was more of like the kinky side to it. Like, now we're like, I don't know, adding something
the
else.
moment you throw a cock ring on it, it's kinky.
That was my first experience. But I would say like soon after that, I was like using vibrators and stuff like that with, vibrators were fun. I remember the first time getting off from a vibrator was one of the best times I've ever.
One of the first times I was using a sex toy with another partner was this guy who ended up being like completely insane and almost impossible to get rid of. But we were using this little. I forgot about this toy until this story popped into my head. I had this toy that it was like supposed to be one of those little like battery powered bullet things that you could like put attachments on the end of, and I had like a tongue attachment for it. It was weird. But you essentially would like put this tongue in wherever you wanted and it would vibrate. But it was just like a slip thing that you slipped over the actual vibrating part. And we were using this thing and this guy wanted to use it on me, so he's like using it on me and he's just like going to town. And he shoved it too far up there and then like the tongue part came off and like I was like, "Oh no.
What are we going to do about
tongue
this?
Stuck in my butt forever." Luckily, because we naturally poop like every day, your butt's usually used to pushing things out of it. So I just did that.
Good. Now I know.
Now you know, everyone. I once
had
had like a rubber tongue stuck in my butt. Don't panic. Try and like go to the bathroom and get it out. Obviously, lube will help. And do this if you do the squatty potty thing, because squatting will like loosen it all up and you get it out. Because if you don't know about squatty potty or squatting to poop, look it up. It's better for your butt. We'll talk about that later because we're definitely going to talk about anal sex soon.
So don't freak out and panic if something
don't freak
stuck
out.
Up your butt. Like,
but if it is really stuck, go to the hospital. That didn't happen to me, thank God.
If this doesn't come out in your next bowel movement, then yeah, you might want to go see someone.
We'll retouch this story when we talk about butt sex, which I think we're going to do in the next episode, because who doesn't love butt sex? Yes. All right, so I think we should shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
I think we should probably stop talking. Thank you if you did manage to listen to all of this ridiculousness. Thank you. Again, don't forget that this podcast, as well as many other podcasts, will be available at spacesproductions.com. A special thanks to Lulu and Pop. That's Mark and Lauren. Daddy Podcast.
Daddy Podcast.
And is there anything else that we need to say?
Yeah, I guess
that we want people to write us things.
Yeah. So
write to us at Jade and Greg, Jade and Greg, Greg. 1G. At Sexpressive. That's expressive with an S in the front of it, so you'll figure that out. Podcast.com. Jade and Greg at sexpressive.podcast.com. Jade and Greg at sexpressivepodcast.com. Please email us things. We'd love to hear you about your dirty firsts. We'd love to hear about your favorite sex toys. And we'd just love to hear from you in general.
Yeah, and you can also reach out to us on Twitter. Our handle is Sexpressive FM, and also on Facebook.
Yeah. Express yourself on Twitter, guys. We want to hear about... I don't know anything about Twitter. I'm sorry.
We're both learning.
We're learning. You can teach us. If you have tips, tweet us tips. It'll be funny because we won't know how to read them because we don't know how to use Twitter.
I'll get my grandma to help us.
Also, there'll be a Facebook at some point because everything has a Facebook. So thanks for listening, and we love you, and listen to Sexpressive some more because we're fun. Bye.
Bye.